This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
PlayStation Pop Experience. Pop Goes to Movies. Wow, our third episode in the last couple of months. Actually, second in 2 or 3 weeks. We back with all these great, streaming movies. Some are original, some, like tonight, is a recut. Howdy, I am Andy Atherton, your host here on this show tonight. We're going to be talking about the much called for, lauded, surprisingly pleasant, in my opinion. I rather enjoyed it. I didn't think I was going to. Zack Snyder's, the Snyder's cut of Justice League. So I am a big, I grew up a big fan of DC. Not a comics book guy, as I've stated, but I grew up on the Super Friends cartoon, so I was always hopeful of DC and always wanted DC to do well. And, maybe they turned a corner. Who knows? Maybe not course correct, but maybe step in the right direction. Let's get some other people, though, in here to break it down. I have the whole Pop Goes the Couch crew, one by one, introducing Shawn Kidd.
Hello, Andy. How are you?
I'm good. Good. Let me ask everybody this. How many sittings did it take you to watch this movie?
For me, personally, I did it in 4 parts. So I watched a part on Friday, then I watched a part on Saturday. I watched 2 parts on Saturday. I took a break in between, but I'm like you. I was going into it kind of like, maybe with some blinders on based on the theatrical release of what I released, and I tried to put the theatrical release out of my head so I could go into it fresh. And I'm glad I did, because I have a lot of great things to say about this movie.
All right. I didn't mention I did it in 2 sittings. Actually, I did 3 hours, and then I tried to do it 1, and I just ran out of steam. And I did the last hour on Saturday morning. All right. So also we got Scott Shifflett joining us.
Hey, Andy. I watched it in 2 sittings. I started it Saturday night, and then I finished Sunday morning. We'll get into it, but I was blown away in a good way by it.
Mm-hmm. All right. And rounding out our group is Tim Capel. Hey, Tim.
Hey, guys. And I would like to demand credit for accomplishing watching it in 1 sitting, even though that's strictly speaking not true. I did start it and then pull the plug after about an hour on Saturday. Sunday night rolled around. I intended to finish it, but you know what? I started it over. I just started it over and did it all in 1 4-hour shot. So even though I'd seen the first hour, I said, let me just do this, experience it all in one go. So that's what I did. And that was after my aborted plan Friday night to watch back-to-back the theatrical cut, then the Snyder cut. Yes, 6 hours. However, once it got to be around, 1 o'clock in the morning, and I hadn't started either of them yet, that seemed like not the best plan for one evening.
Yeah, I think you thought better there, Tim.
I did rewatch the theatrical cut. Before the Snyder cut. So did get them both in eventually.
Braver man than the rest of us.
I'm actually we'll get into this, but I'm actually really glad I did.
Yeah. All right. So we're just going to talk about, we're not going to go in depth, like shot by shot, like we kind of do on some of these review shows. We're going to give our thoughts on different aspects. Like I said, I love DC. I've been disappointed in most of DC. I mean, there have been some bright spots. I mean, I know there's going to be some differences of opinion in what some of these bright spots are throughout the panel. I mean, I have enjoyed, some of the solo films, Aquaman. I did enjoy the first Wonder Woman. Second Wonder Woman, I liked. I didn't love it. I liked it. I did like Shazam. My kids liked it. So, I know. That's one of the differences of opinion. But we're spoiled by the MCU and the fact that they did it, I mean, in my opinion, the right way. They introduced all these characters and gave them time to, us get to know them. I didn't know much about Iron Man all that much. I didn't know anything about Black Widow and all these characters that we came to grow and love. And then we got the team up, and here we kind of got like a little bit of intro, and then we got the team ups right away, and there was no slow build. I think they really, I know you don't want to copycat your main competitor, but I think that's kind of what fans were expecting, and I was highly disappointed by the first Justice League. I just thought things were not making sense to me. I know that there was controversy. I mean, unfortunately, regardless of how you feel about Zack Snyder as a director or filmmaker, whether he was not the right person with his vision, what happened to him, his family tragedy, and he had to step away from the Justice League movie. It's terrible. It should not happen to anybody. Joss Whedon, who, has had a fall from grace since then, but I was a big fan. I was a Buffy fan. I love what he did with the first two Avengers. I just didn't like it. Sean, what were your thoughts on the original theatrical Justice League?
So the original, I was a lot like, I don't know if I necessarily hated it like everybody else per se. I'm a lot like you. I was more of a Marvel fan growing up, but I was a fan of the DC cartoon stuff. So I watched Super Friends. I watched individual cartoons that they had. I watched, they had the Superpowers show. So I watched all the DC cartoons. Not so much the movie universe. I mean, I did watch the original Superman. I enjoyed. I do like the Batman stuff. So there are some movies there, but the new kind of age DC stuff, I've been kind of hot and cold on. I did not like Shazam. Wonder Woman 84 was terrible. I did like Wonder Woman. I did like Aquaman. So there are some bright spots there, but I was not a fan of the original theatrical one. I didn't hate it that as much as you, but not as everyone else. But I will say that I agree with you 100%. There were things that did not make sense in that movie that, I was scratching my head on. I go, man, it just seems like they're rushing a lot of stuff here, and this doesn't really make sense, and it's kind of a hot mess. But this changed all that for me, because a lot of the stuff that was hot mess in that totally made sense in this movie, which is one of the reasons why I really enjoy it.
Yeah, it's quite part of the reason why we're getting together to talk about it too, because I was watching it, and I'm like, it's kind of like one of those, like, I have like a scowl on my face as I started it, like kind of like a little kid, like I don't want to, and then like as I'm going through, I'm like loosening, and I'm starting to like relax, I'm starting to like maybe smile at times during the movie, and I'm like, oh wow, this is, okay, this doesn't completely suck. Oh my god, this is pretty good. Now, oh my, that's what that should have been. Yeah, there's so many like light bulb moments where it's like, oh, I mean, I know that there's studio, interference and a 4-hour cut. There's less showings. That means you can make less money and budget, blah blah blah. So I understand why this, couldn't have been in theaters. Or shouldn't have been.
I think originally, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't they first initially announce that it was going to be Justice League Part 1 and 2, and it was going to be a 2-part series? Didn't they announce that at the start?
Something like that. Yeah,
Sean, that's correct. But after Batman vs. Superman didn't do as well in the box office, I'm going off memory here. The powers that be at Warner Brothers were like, no, you're just going to do this in one shot.
Well, correct. But I think this is what we would have gotten, that 2-parter, and I would have been A-okay with it.
Yep. Scott, what do you think of the original theatrical version?
So I'm a huge DC fan. Like, I have I have a bookshelf full of miscellaneous books, and but the last 2 shelves are full of DC comics. Like, I have like a random Marvel comic here and there, but I'm a huge DC fan. And to be honest, it's heartbreaking to see how DCEU, once they started, because they originally were supposed to start with Green Lantern. That was going to launch it. And I'm a huge Green Lantern fan, but that movie sucked, and it was just terrible. And then I feel like they rushed with Batman vs. Superman. Like, I've ranted and raved about how I thought that movie was shit because they fought, and then they realized, oh, your mom's name is Martha too, let's be best friends. So when Joss Whedon took over for the Justice League for the reshoots, I was like, well, he did make the first Avengers. The second Avengers wasn't that great, but the first Avengers was good, and I was looking forward to that. And then it came out, and it's one of those things where like it came out, and I was like forcing myself to like it because I was like, come on, it can't be like it was bad, but I was like, I just want it to be good because I like DC so much, but it was just terrible. And I liked Wonder Woman 1984. I didn't really like. it was just horribly edited at certain parts. Some of it didn't make sense, like the whole Steve Trevor thing coming back. That shit was dumb. But I did like Shazam and Aquaman, and I actually wasn't a fan of the Joker movie that came out with Joaquin Phoenix. I think I'm the only one that didn't like that, to be honest. But yeah, like DCEU has been stumbling blocks, and they're not even doing extended universe anymore. So I know I've ranted about the whole DC movies in general, but yeah, I was, for something that could be so good like Marvel movies, like they just screwed up, plain and simple.
Yeah, it was I honestly think it's just too dark, too brooding. I mean, Batman vs Superman was a lot of ridiculousness. Although now that I've seen this and I liked it, I may give the director's cut of that a shot at some point. Tim, so kind of you're going to get a twofold question. What were your original thoughts on Justice League, and now after your rewatch of the theatrical, what were your thoughts?
I thought that the theatrical cut of Justice League, which I didn't actually see for the first time until probably last year, on what was then just regular streaming, HBO Go or Now, whatever it was like disappointing, but I wasn't as down on it as most people at the same time. I think I had calibrated my expectations low enough that I was still able to be a little bit pleasantly surprised that it wasn't a complete unwatchable disaster, because that's what I was expecting going in. And I think it had a lot of circumstances working against it. So somehow, against all odds, it came out like I would say it's like better than some of the worst MCU movies, or about on the same level. But
I mean, like Thor the Dark Turd?
Yeah, it's probably better than Thor 2, right? It's probably it's better than like some of the early 2000s superhero stuff. Like it's better than Daredevil. It's better than that Thomas Jane Punisher. It's like better than Spider-Man 3 and X-Men The Last Stand and that kind of thing. But
yeah,
I would say in the grand scheme of like all comic book movies, it's real middle of the pack. But as you say, Andy, in this world where we are really spoiled by the quality of the MCU, it compares very unfavorably. And it's sort of part of that trend of DC films in recent years really underperforming against Marvel and letting their fans down. And for my part, like I've always been a Marvel zombie. Like going back to the time I was a kid, like I liked some of the DC characters, some DC comics, but just never been all that into it. So I haven't had the attachment to that world and that universe the way that other people do. And I mean, I love those original, Christopher Reeve Superman films. The Burton Batman's pretty much up my alley. I like one of the Nolan Batman movies. And then it's sort of a sharp drop off from there. Like, I remember liking Man of Steel, which kicked off, I guess, this version of the DCEU in film that we're dealing with today. I remember liking that quite a bit at the time, and I've sort of soured on it more and more ever since. Batman v Superman theatrical cut was doo-doo shit. I will say that the Ultimate Edition, the 3-hour, once again, I guess Zack Snyder's vision cannot be constrained by a reasonable runtime, apparently. So if you have 3 hours to spare to watch that, yes, it is better than the theatrical cut of Batman v Superman. It does make more sense in terms of some of the plot mechanics and some of the character motivations. That said, it still has like the same fundamental problems as the theatrical cut. So if you had problems with that in the theater, you're going to have those same problems, but in a film that is maybe a little bit less flawed. So that I would say is an improvement, but not like knock your socks off or anything. I don't know. Some people felt differently. I didn't. I thought, okay, I can see why. It should have been probably released in this form. You could trim some of the fat, but they definitely cut a lot out that needed to be there in order for this movie to be more coherent.
Mm.
First Wonder Woman was, I thought it was fine. Wonder Woman 84, controversially more forgiving of than other people. I haven't seen Shazam. I've seen bits and pieces of Aquaman, so that's about where I'm at.
Oh, okay. Yeah, for me also the term shitting on my childhood, where it's like I'm not I love the Super Friends. It's how I feel about Transformers and G.I. Joe movies. It's like I really want them to be great. I really want to like them, and I get disappointed. So, I still give up hope, although I don't want to see Michael Bay get his hands anywhere near the Transformers ever again. All right, so we've been hearing for years though, since I believe what was it 2017 when the Justice League movie came out. Yes. Released the Snyder cut. The Snyder, hey, he didn't get to do his video, blah, 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 blah. And a lot of it, I was just like, yeah, whatever. I was doing that little hand gesture with the, you know what I mean, like shake weight kind of thing. And it was like, I was like, oh, whatever. And we've been hearing about it, and now, with the beauty of streaming services, we're in the middle of the streaming wars, which they're throwing money at lots of creators and filmmakers and artists and stuff. And when these companies compete, we win, and we get things like this. So, but when it was first announced, I was skeptical, like everybody else. I'm like, how really? Because you put lipstick on a pig, it's still a pig, kind of thing. So, Scott, what were your thoughts when you first heard the announcement of the Snyder Cut coming to HBO Max?
I initially thought there was only so many ways you can polish this turd. I actually remember ranting to you guys in our group chat about how I thought this was going to be the biggest piece of shit and waste of time that I was going to subject myself to, just because I was so frustrated with his original cut of with Batman v Superman, that I was like, he basically like you said, he shit on with that and shit on your childhood. But I was pleasantly I was blown away by how much I enjoyed this. Like, sorry to get ahead, but when I initially heard it, I was like, I'm going to hate this. Like, I'm going to hate watch this. But luckily that wasn't the case.
Yeah, that was kind of what it was. It was like, all right, we're going to do this pod just so we could crap on it. And I think we're all kind of like, oh, maybe not. Tim, what was your thoughts when the Snyder Cut came out? Got announced, at least.
Oh, yeah, there was a lot of talk at the time, and I sort of would share these sentiments of, you've got a really toxic fandom where this is just the height of entitlement of, well, because we didn't get what we wanted the first time around, we're going to scream and cry about it like a bunch of whiny babies until we get our way. And now we're going to get a shitty in a different direction version of a movie that's already shitty. Like, is this like, I did not like the precedent that seemed to be setting. Like, is this what we're going to do now? Every movie that comes out that has a built-in audience that for whatever reason they didn't like it, so they're going to be crybabies until they get their way and get it done right the way it's supposed to be, except it still sucks. Like, just such a waste of resource, such a waste of money. I just really hated the energy behind it, I guess. I will say that since that time, I've kind of backed down from that a bit, only because of maybe the circumstances that surrounded it actually getting the green light. Like, I mean, you could take a very cynical attitude of, well, this took resources away from better movies that should have been made instead of remaking this piece of shit. And I think that might be true in any other year, but the fact is, I mean, I feel like this kind of gave people some jobs they might not have had an opportunity to work, given how limited the slate has been in Hollywood here through the pandemic and COVID times. So in a way, like, maybe it's been beneficial. I also do think about just the circumstances behind Zack Snyder leaving this movie. It's not like he turned in a bad movie and got fired or something. Like he did not want to have to step away. It was for very personal and tragic reasons that he didn't get to finish the movie. And it's sort of nice that he's been like welcomed back and said, hey, it must be very difficult for him to pick this back up, just based on the circumstances in his own life that led to his departure, to revisit all of this. But to say, hey, I want to be able to actually finish it, and we support you, we're behind you, whatever comes out at the end of the day, we're going to release it. It's not going to get a theatrical run, but that is the beauty of streaming. It can take whatever form it takes, and you don't have to worry about selling tickets, you don't have to worry about run times or anything like that. Just send it out to the internet, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know, it's sort of it's definitely I thought it would be a bad precedent. I don't know if that's exactly true. It is unprecedented. So if we are going to see more of this type of thing, maybe we just take it more on a case-by-case basis. I don't know if we will, but old new world we're in here now, guys.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Shawn, what were your thoughts when you heard the Snyder Cut? Snyder Cut's coming.
Well, I'm not a fan of Snyder. Like the Watchmen movie he did, I thought was a big boring piece of shit. And I know some people have different opinions on that, but I was not a big fan of that movie. The Batman movie, I wasn't a big fan of. So the Justice League for me, I was very excited to that because I'm all about the team movies. And Justice League, some might say, is more iconic than the Avengers. So I was looking forward to that, and I was a little disappointed by that, even though, like I said, I didn't hate it as much as everybody else. But when they announced the 4-hour cut, I think we were all in the chat, and a few people were like, oh, man, 4 hours of shit, and I can't believe they're doing it. And I was like, well, I'll probably give it a chance. And then they initially announced they were going to do it as a 4-part miniseries.
Yeah.
And if it's a 4-part miniseries, like, okay, I'll watch it an hour at a time. It should be all right. And then they decided to go the full Monty on it and just do 4-hour movies. So it's like, shit. So that's kind of when I figured out I already knew ahead of time I wouldn't watch it as one big movie. I was going to kind of go that route. I liked when they said they were going to break it into parts. And I was going to take it in that aspect and watch it as parts, take a break, take a breather, then go back versus watching it full on. So that's kind of what I was thinking when they first announced it.
Yeah. That's what it was. It was like kind of like, all right, the way it's laid out. And then I started watching it. It was like, oh, okay, we're getting these little cards that are coming up, and it's gonna, make my my viewing experience kind of choose your own adventure-esque. Where it was like, all right, and it was kind of one of those things like, okay, I'm investing this night, and it just because of personal issues like distractions that were coming up was what led to me like at 1 o'clock in the morning throwing the towel in and not wanting to be up for another hour or so. So there are a lot of differences, but we're going to kind of go through each chapter. There's parts, so there's 7 parts. There's 6 parts and an epilogue, and we'll kind of run through them a little bit and kind of just say if you have any notes or anything to say. There were things, though, that I thought were vastly improved. In my opinion, I thought Steppenwolf was a much better villain this time. DC's villains have been horrible. Outside of, maybe, except for Cheetah, but a lot of the villains this third act issues. I mean, and some Marvel villains have had their day. But part 1 is called Don't Count on It, Batman, where it kind of is the beginning, the first little while of it, where we kind of get the mother boxes, the whole thing starting off there. So Tim, what do you think of part 1? And we get a little disclaimer at the top of this that said presented 4x3 disclaimer as the director originally intended. For me, I was kind of like, yeah, okay.
Off the top, I'll say I am incapable of delineating one part from another. Perhaps because I did watch it all in one go. Other than that epilogue, which just says epilogue and is vastly different from the preceding film, I will probably have a hard time knowing what belonged to what. Okay. What scenes belong to what part. But anyway, right off the top, the big change that we see is, the disclaimer. Yeah, it's presented in a 4 4:3 aspect ratio to preserve the original intent of the director. That's all well and good, but can anyone answer the question, why was this the director's original intent? Other than 3 square boxes are a big fixture of this movie, and maybe they look better on a square frame picture. I don't understand anyway. I guess it doesn't matter. It's just, it feels pretty arbitrary. And I'm like, okay. But I mean, I guess wasn't too distracting. Just very odd, that choice, I thought. And the next thing you notice is the color grading is very different, even in scenes that this has in common with the theatrical cut, which again, I'd watched right before this. That theatrical release, one of the, I think, criticisms of it is it felt super saturated in the colors, right? How everything was just kind of bleeding, and it just didn't look right at all. And this, we see it corrected to more of that signature Zack Snyder hue, I guess. I would say it's an improvement from the theatrical release, but I don't know that it's still ideal, but that is his signature style. So, all right, this immediately feels more like a Zack Snyder movie. So yeah, we open with our first 5 minutes, again, very different from I guess I'll call it the Whedon cut. I don't know what else. A recap from Batman.
They've been calling the Whedon cut the Justice League.
The Justice. Okay, Justice League.
Oh, fucking Marks.
Thank you. So I guess a recap of the ending, the climax: Batman v Superman, Superman dying. Okay, very good. Did we need 5 minutes of Superman's deathgasm, like cascading?
Yeah, the beginning. To your point, the first 5 minutes or so is a little overindulgent.
And it made sense why they did it. Like they totally gave a rationale. Like this actually served a purpose. It wasn't just a weird stylistic thing, but I think the style still could have been dialed back a little bit, right? Like they could have accomplished that without having this cascading wave of
super trope. It was like super trippy. It's like you were on a big acid trip and they were just painting these big broad brushes like Bob Ross on freaking acid or something. It was really weird. Yeah. I like what you said about Snyder hue. That's a good way you put it, I thought.
Right. So everything's a little, quite a bit darker.
Yeah. Dark and gritty. That's his style.
Yeah. It's put through a different filter altogether. So, I mean, you're definitely given an impression that, okay, I am in for a vastly different film experience. And that was one of the things I wondered going in, like, how different, honestly, is this? It's going to be longer, certainly, but is this going to truly be like a totally different movie, like a different plot, with very few scenes in common? Like, what am I in store for here? And it's feeling like a pretty different movie right out of the gate. So that's what I will say.
Yeah. So this introductory part, called "Don't Count on It, Batman," is more really about Batman, reaching out to the heroes, trying to get them together against something he saw in the premonition. Where he's trying to get, him and he's already got Wonder Woman like on the team, but it's really about recruiting, the other main players, Aquaman, Cyborg, and Flash. Sean, what do you think of this first part here?
Yeah, I won't spend too much time on the opening. Tim covered that pretty well, I thought, with the whole Superman dying. I also like Steppenwolf. I thought he looked like a total badass. The Mother Box stuff, what I did, like I told you guys, when I went into this, I wiped out the theatrical version totally out of my head because I wanted an open mind, open perspective. And I found a lot of similarities. Okay, so they were going after the Infinity Gems in the Avengers movies. Here we have the Mother Boxes. And I was like, but I also like the beginning of the storyline around, the Olympic gods, the Amazons, the Atlanteans, the random Green Lantern who later eats shit, which is great because I don't like Green Lantern. Sorry, Scott. But I like the storyline around the boxes and the framework of that. I also like them going out recruiting. I really enjoyed the Batman scene with Bruce Wayne recruiting Aquaman. I could have done without the little choir at the end of the sea, which is a little weird. That was terrible. That was a little. I really don't know what that was all about. Where they pick up his shirt, and that was really weird. So it's
the
not
glassy-eyed chanting Icelandic women that seemed like something
super,
out of Midsummer. Yeah, that was
the singing mermaids or whatever the hell it was. That was really weird, and I just
that
didn't
was
understand that.
Fucking brutal. I hated that.
Yeah,
scene.
that was a terrible scene. But again, I enjoyed the in-bar part where he's trying to recruit Aquaman, and Aquaman basically tells him to fuck off. And I love the scene where he goes, well, I fought alongside Superman when he died, and Aquaman goes, well, now he basically says, well, there you go. I'm not joining you because look what happened to Superman, which was really funny. The Barry Allen stuff, I also really enjoyed, Andy, to be honest with you. And I know some people complain or not a fan of the little slow-mo shit that they do during the Flash's sequence, but I did like this one. And I assume that was Iris. I don't think they ever came out and said it, but I assume that was his Iris, right?
Yeah, they do say that.
They say it was Iris. Yeah. Okay. So I thought that whole I thought that was pretty cool with the car flipping up and her in the air. It was really weird that he was taking a sweet time. He grabbed the hot dog to put it in his pants for the dogs inside the pet shop, but I think they went a little overindulgent. But I liked all this. What I really liked about this opening that we didn't get in the original Justice League is they seem to cram so much shit in the Justice League without any backstory to character, any really context to any of them. And we got context to Aquaman. And now we have Barry that's been fleshed out quite a bit. And for me, the true highlight of this, and I'm probably getting ahead, but I also know we don't want to spend 5 hours on this pod. The highlight of this movie for me is how they fleshed out Flash, and especially how they fleshed out Cyborg. Cyborg was an afterthought to me in the original version. In this, it's really his movie and his show. If you really watch and sit back, this is his show in this. And I was pleasantly surprised how they represented Cyborg here.
Yeah, I did not like Cyborg because, one, I'm a little biased because he's not part of my Justice League that I know.
Yeah, he's Teen Titans.
So I did, and I just thought, like, what's his point here?
Well, now we know. And
now we know. That was one of my, like I got turned around on. Scott, what did you think of the beginning of this cut?
Yeah, Act 1. Like I said, I enjoyed it, but I believe the first two acts moved extremely slow. He could have picked up the pace for a little bit. Act 1, like Shawn said, he has no recollection of seeing it of the original movie. I feel like I've been Men in Black mind wiped, where I only remember bits and pieces of the movie. But I am looking like it was nice to see like. I love seeing Batfleck, and I feel like I'm upset that we'll never see like a full movie with him because he's moved on, and we have like the, God, I'm blanking on his name. I want to call him Sparkly Batman because I know he was in Twilight.
Robert Pattinson.
Yeah, Robert Pattinson.
Smelly Batman.
Yes, but side note, that trailer looks amazing, and if it's covering one of my favorite graphic novels from Batman, will be fine. But that's a different pod. I just felt it moved a little slow. Like the Flash stuff was cool at first where like you see it, but then I think he uses it too much with like slowing it in slow motion, which also around this time, that's when they were doing the Quicksilver stuff. And everyone was like, God, this is the greatest stuff ever where Quicksilver would slow down. Like they did it great in Days of Future Past X-Men movie. But after that, it wasn't that great. But it was like the first two were slow. I'll pick it up more when we get to the other parts. But yeah, it was just a little too slow for mine. Like sorry, I'm rambling.
Well, okay. Can we talk about the Wonder Woman intro, which was a scene that was also in the theatrical
cut?
But I will say that this one, I thought the attempt to recruit Aquaman was another scene that the two films had in common, and I thought that the big difference here was that there was a lot of dialogue changes. You didn't have Bruce joking about, oh, you can talk to fish or any of that kind of stuff. So it was like, I don't know, it was more serious in its tone. And it had like a more of that Whedon thing where there's a slight ironic detachment in the theatrical, the Justice cut, I should say. So I don't know. I thought I was I could go either way on that scene, but I did think that the Wonder Woman intro was rather better this time around.
Where she stops the bombing and stuff like
Yes,
that.
Yeah, that was really well done.
It
Yep.
was.
She has some. She's zipping around. She's throwing people all over the place. Like there's definitely some very Snyder-esque touches there, but in a way that I think is well served in that scene, where he definitely has like a visual flair, but works in a way that just in the Whedon cut was kind of just flat. So, and she even gets a moment, right, with the little girl who says, "Oh, I want to be just like you," or whatever, and she tells her, "You can be anything you want." Was just a nice scene that it's like, why would you cut that out?
So Tim, was this the first appearance of the ever so often we see in this movie Wonder Woman choir behind her every time she jumps into action?
Yes. So, okay, there's definitely some difference. The scoring was a lot different too. I don't know. One of the things I actually liked from the Justice, I can't keep saying this, the Justice.
Yeah, you're gonna get lockjaws.
The Jaundice League. Yeah.
One of the things I really liked about that is you would hear occasionally the fanfare from like the Danny Elfman Batman, the
Wonder Woman theme.
Wonder Woman certainly, but also the John Williams Superman would be in there a little bit. And they didn't do that in the Snyder cut. It's all kind of like, if not the actual DCEU like character scores behind these different in these different action scenes, you'll get like almost like a funeral dirge or weird chanting, lamentations, just sort of I don't know. I wasn't thrilled with the score behind this one, but it was sort of neither here nor there. I did think that losing those callbacks was unfortunate. So anyway, like the Wonder Woman intro a lot better. Hated most anything involving slow-mo that we've talked about, except for the Flash scenes where I thought it actually made sense based on his powers. But like when we first see Lois and all she's really doing is like bringing coffee to a cop, and there's this awful music cue where it's just like this indie rock song, which it's kind of a pretty song, but do we really again need to be doing this for 7 minutes and watching her in slow motion?
I felt like I was watching Dawson's Creek and stuff.
It was bad. That kind of stuff is like.
Is that a bad thing?
Well, in this movie, yes. In Dawson's Creek, no. But that's what it felt like to me a little bit.
And that's something that got really obnoxious at times in this. Like we saw it in the Flash rescue scene also, which I didn't like that scene at all. I didn't really think that. We know he's like an awkward weirdo already. I didn't think that added anything. But I know that mileage tends to vary on that. So,
yep.
Anyway.
So here we get into part 2 now, the Age of Heroes. So this is really about how they were going to they give a little explanation here about the previous invasion of the planet by Darkseid that was really that really wasn't present in the theatrical cut. It was the first time when he went up against the combined forces of men, Amazonians, Atlanteans, Lanterns, and others, and it was the only time he had ever lost at a planet, and it gave really more backstory to the parademons, and made it that they smell the mother box, I guess, people, but they don't smell fear, and explain like how they came about. So I really loved this part of the movie. We'll go to Sean. Sean, what did you think of part 2, where we do get that flashback scene, and we start to get the information that we were missing before, or they kind of fix some broken things.
Story progression. I enjoyed them going back and telling the story of the mother boxes and Steppenwolf's failure, and I like that we're bringing Darkseid into it. I'm not going to spend a lot of time, talking about it. I'm just going to tell you, I like that they're filling in the gaps that confused the hell out of me in the theatrical release. Like, this is, and I'm going to disagree with Tim, maybe with Scott a little bit, talking about how he thought the beginning was boring a little bit. I disagree with that because at the end of the day, I want a story. And I want to have context to characters and background on the characters they're telling the story about. And they did a very bad job with that in Justice League, the theatrical version. In this version, they are building layers. It is 4 hours a long time, yes, but never at any point in this have I gotten bored. Never at any point did I say, man, this is really stupid. Why is it here? It's filling in gaps. It's telling a long-term story, and I think they're doing it really well. And so far, so good for me as we got into Act 2 as well.
Mm-hmm. Scott, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, Act 2, this is when I liked where we saw, where everyone had came together before to, not kill Darkseid, but defeat him and force him into retreat. And Darkseid is one of the big bads in the DCEU, and in the comic books as well. He's the
DC Thanos.
Exactly. Yep. Sean took the words out of my mouth. And I know a lot of people will probably say that DCEU was copying the MCU, but that's one thing you got to realize with comics. These people are ripping each other off all the time in the comic books. So there's so many characters that are similar. Like Quicksilver and Flash. It's just one of them off the top of my head. They're both fast, and Deadpool is named Wade Wilson, and Deadshot is Slade Wilson. So come on. I know Deadpool was created as a mockery of Slade Wilson, but that's getting ahead of ourselves. But it was nice to see that big battle. I'm a sucker for those big battles, and it was the part 2 where we see Steppenwolf basically whoop Wonder Woman's the Amazonian ass, or was that?
Oh, that was part
3.
Oh,
yeah.
Sorry. When I watched it, I split it into 2, and I just did 2 hours and 2 hours. So yeah, but it was setting the stage here, and it was nice to see that story, and looking forward to what's coming up. One thing I did not like about this movie, and that's because I have a personal issue with the character myself, is how everyone was on Superman's nuts. It's like, we can't do this without Superman. When Superman died, everything was lost. It's like, relax, okay?
It was like it was Jesus Christ or something.
Yeah. So that's one thing that I have an issue with the story is Batman's Superman made me a better man. And I believe in faith now and not reason. But it's sorry, I'm just ranting now.
It's okay. All right. Tim?
I don't know. I kind of like the Superman hero work because I thought it was good character progression for Batman, and I do think that this version of the movie made a better case for Superman than the original. He's dead, and everybody feels kind of sad, and then they're like, oh, we can bring him back, and they bring him back, and he saves. That's pretty much it. And in this, there's more of an arc to it, which we'll talk more about when we get there. But I just thought that the handling of Superman, and especially his memory and his legacy, was just overall better done this time around. I say that as I'm a huge Superman mark. So the whole, I will say that Steppenwolf's design is something that I like better this time around. It just feels like there was more effort, more work put into that. It just visually popped in a way that it didn't in the theatrical release.
Mm-hmm.
And also, Tim, he has more of a story this time instead of just being Darkseid's second in command, which I'm going off my memory here with that, is that they are doing that. With this one, he wants to get back in Darkseid's good graces, and that's why he's going after Earth.
Yeah, so he actually has a more clear motivation. It's not like he just got dropped in our lap, and all Joss Whedon seemed to do was put some really strange, really poetic words in his mouth, and it didn't really make him more of a fully realized character. It just made him more eloquent than he is. In this, he's just sort of guttural and grunts a lot, and That's about it. But that's all you really need, because this movie understands that he really isn't that important as a character in and of himself. He's important to drive the plot. And that's what the movie's interested in. And that's fine, because we even get, we get some dark side. We get, Desaad, and we get him. The joke is that he's having to check in on Zoom with his boss, basically. At various points.
But I loved all that. I thought it was.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with that.
They made nameless parademons more fleshed out.
We understood what exactly a parademon is.
Yeah, so I had no idea. Like, why are these bug people things? What? And now I found out they were
pretty helpful
inhabitants of planets that have been conquered, and they get turned into a parademon.
Yeah,
basically. Yeah.
So in the big change in the flashback, the original invasion attempted what's it called, the unity of the mother boxes. So that was a Steppenwolf scene in the Whedon cut, and it seems like we pretty much just swapped out Steppenwolf for Darkseid directly. And I don't know. It's sort of, I don't know if it's better or worse, because there's a revelation later on that sort of paints Darkseid in a unfortunate light. But he gets repelled in this invasion rather than Steppenwolf, and I guess I see why they took Darkseid out entirely the first time around, just because it was a smaller, more contained, very studio mandated. This has to be no more than 2 hours and some change. And Darkseid only gets like maybe a name drop in that theatrical cut, whereas he's much more of a presence here. But otherwise does kind of the same things in that original, flashback invasion of Earth scene that Steppenwolf does. But I wish we had maybe seen him act more like Darkseid as I think of the character. Like, where are the Omega Beam? Where's like all his cool powers and shit, right?
Well, we sort of saw an Omega Beam and
we
getting
did.
ahead of ourselves in the Nightmare
I wanted
universe.
to see him unleashed, really, like in the flashback when Diana's bringing Bruce up to speed on what a mother box is, and
and see him in that big huge battle.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they kind of job him out in that.
Well, they kind of job him out in the movie overall for the most part, to Tim's point. I mean, I know we're jumping ahead, but I think the visual at the end with him kind of staring at the heroes, I thought that was pretty badass, actually. I enjoyed that.
Yeah,
I agree. It was like, come on, motherfucker, we're gonna whoop your ass if you come.
Yeah, and he took a step back, and that was kind of what was going to set up the next movie, right? So I thought that was a great scene.
Mm-hmm.
But I get what Tim's saying about him being jobbed out a little bit. It makes total sense.
Yep. So the next part 3, is beloved mother, beloved son. Basically, what happens here is we get what we think is Martha Kent visiting Lois Lane to kind of tell her to get back to living. Turns out it was actually Martian Manhunter, which we didn't see at all in the theatrical. Also, this is where we get a lot of the cyborg backstory, where the accident when his mother dies and he is basically only like little parts of him, and his father decides to become like almost like Frankenstein and decides to save his life. So this is where we also got that Flash intro scene is where it happened. We get Central City, which is I guess not exactly next to I would have cracked up if it was on like the other side of Gotham. But this is where this recut really hooked me, because seeing the cyborg stuff, seeing Martian Manhunter, I was like, this is now a different movie to me, and it's really got my attention here. So Scott, what did you think of these little bits and pieces of this movie?
All right, this like you said, this is where you got hooked. This is where those hooks got sunk into me deep, like in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where the Texas Chainsaw person hooks the people on the meat hooks. I'm all over the place tonight, sorry, but the Cyborg stuff, like, I thought Snyder was bullshitting because they always said that Cyborg was the heart of the movie, and he was the heart of the movie. You see him, like, you saw him brooding in parts 1 and 2 just, like, temporarily, but then, like, you see his flashback and how heartbreaking it is where he has a dad that isn't there, and him and his mom are in a car accident, and she dies, and he's basically dead, and then, like, we see all this. It's just great. But the Martian Manhunter scene, I lost my shit when I saw that. Tim, was that scene where Martha has a conversation with Lois? Was that in the movie? Was that in the Justice League?
They had a different scene, but it was not that, and the dialogue was totally different. They did have a scene together, but it wasn't this at all.
Okay. I couldn't remember, but, like, seeing Martian Manhunter, it was such a tease, because then, like, it's also something that, like, pisses me off, because it's like, where's he at? Like, why didn't he show up for the rest of the movie? Like, we see him then, and then we see Martian Manhunter at the very end of the movie talking to Bruce, but it's like, why didn't he show up in their time of need? Like, I've heard rumors online that he came to Alfred, and Alfred told him to stay away so Darkseid wouldn't know about him for the second Justice League, but that's just spin foil. But that's when I was falling in love with this movie. And we see one of the mother boxes get taken from the Amazonians, and that's a great fight sequence.
Themyscira gets effed up. Jeez.
Yeah, it's just great. And, like, the movie starts hitting on all cylinders right here. Like Shawn said, he enjoyed that first part. Like, but I was like, I know it was for sitting the table, but I just want, in these big team up movies, like, I have an issue with Marvel too. I just want nonstop action the whole time. It's like, we know what's going on here, but also sometimes I overthink, and I'm like, the general public might not know everything that we know, which we ran issues with when we were talking about WandaVision.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Tim, what do you think of this part of this recut?
I'll start with the bad, and with all due respect, apologies to Scott. I thought the Martha Manhunter scene was absolutely awful. Fucking abysmal.
Oh, Jesus. Wow.
Damn.
I have a question. Tim, do you think that scene was initially part of the Snyder version, or do you think that's
never in a million years?
He was troped in because of Supergirl, wasn't he?
No, I don't think because of that.
But that's who plays him on the TV show too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually recognize it because I did watch the first couple seasons of Supergirl.
What I had heard was he wanted to do a scene with the John Stewart Green Lantern, and
well, nobody wants Green Lanterns.
Well, he got shot down by the studio on that, and he said, "Well, then instead, I will do Martian Manhunter." But
okay, that makes sense.
I guarantee you that, had this thing seen the light of day as a theatrical release, there is no fucking way in hell any of these Martian Manhunter scenes would have been in there. And that's what I think, that's kind of the story of this project, is probably just, let's take every scrap of material that we filmed, and cobble it together and just release it all. Even though fully realizing that, number one, this would never get a 4-hour theatrical release. Number two, like, there's a lot of stuff that would get cut out, either because of pacing reasons, or it's redundant, or it does not serve the story, or it's completely just unfinished. It would not be in there. But they just wanted to put it's just sort of it is what it says. Zack Snyder's Justice League. It's everything that Zack Snyder produced for his intended Justice League movie, and presents it to the public. So, I mean, it fulfills its promise. But whether or not it makes a lot of sense or serves the movie, that's where you have some real questions at times. And this was a prime example of that. It is so random. Take away our comics knowledge of, we know who Martian Manhunter is. Can you imagine a person like watching this with no familiarity of this character, just going, what? Superman's mom is an alien? It's like some random alien. Like, do you even know that he was impersonating her, for one thing? Like, for another thing, why are we still introducing new characters now? This is almost 2.5 hours into the movie, which is a real no-no sort of thing. Just from like a narrative standpoint. And number three, it really robs Lois and Martha of what's like an otherwise really nice scene between the two of them. Like that's a good character moment and exchange that they get that they just yanked away from you and said, nope, wasn't even Martha. Just some random alien trying to give Lois a pep talk, which goes nowhere because what happens right after this? Superman's back from the dead anyway, so it doesn't turns out she didn't need this fucking pep talk in the first place.
I get what you're saying because he walks out and changes and goes, well, even Lois has a role to play. And it's like, okay, we have no follow-up because to your point, Superman comes back and we don't really need her to have a role because that's her role now because Superman's here, right? So, yeah.
And if they had that conversation, like, I don't know, earlier in the film and she had stopped going to the Superman memorial, that's really going to fuck things up later on when they actually need her to be there. Yes. It's real convenient that they made that the last time she would make that a part of her daily ritual because random shape-shifting alien posed as her near mother-in-law talked her out. This was so fucking bad.
Awful. So Tim, for your two with like random like non-comic book readers and watchers of the animated show would know, I watched it with my wife and she goes Martian Manhunter because I was trying to tell her who he was. She goes, that's a mouthful of a name, and just didn't care about him. And I was like, yeah, kind of fucked on that one. And then God, I forgot the second part. Just disregard. I'll just remember the first part.
All good. But I hated that so much.
By the way, I'm the same. My wife is like, who is this guy? And I had to explain to her. I was like, oh, well, he's on the Superman show. He's part of the Justice League. And I don't really know why he's in this particular scene. That's really what I said to her.
I mean, I guess it would have been it would have been salvageable if he had gone on to do anything else. Like, as reverential as this movie is about only Superman has the power.
Tim, I'm okay with him being in the epilogue scene. I'm okay with that one. But
if that had been his only scene, I'd be okay with.
Yeah, if that was his only scene, that made total sense to me. But I agree with you on this one.
If that's the only time show, but really, it just makes it look. It makes him look bad. It makes the movie look incompetent, and it makes the climax of the movie sort of, or the point that we needed Superman in order to win the day here. Well, you kind of don't, because if you're gonna put Martian Manhunter on the table, here's a guy with all of Superman's powers and some more. So,
and if it would have made the epilogue mean more if he hadn't have shown up here too.
Yeah.
And I remember my second part. This, like you said, Tim, with the saying they're introducing a new character 2.5 hours in. This is the problem. It's not with Snyder. It's from the very beginning with Warner Brothers. With, you think about Avengers, how many years of movies did we get with intro stories so that we knew all these characters? But with DC, we did this rush job where they had, like you said, Man of Steel, which I forgot about when I mentioned earlier in this podcast, and then like no Green Lantern because of that failure. So then we go Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman, and then Justice League.
Yep.
So we have to add in all these characters, and that's because DC was trying to play catch up, and instead of just playing the long game like Marvel, but if they would have played like the long game like Marvel, they would have made more money. We wouldn't be in this predicament right now.
And it's a shame because this movie otherwise does a pretty remarkable job of having to do the heavy lifting that prior solo films that hadn't been made yet, or frankly still don't exist, that they didn't do, right? Like, to get to the good now, to transition to what I did like, as we talked about, the cyborg stuff. Holy shit, I totally get why Ray Fisher was so pissed and has been so pissed at Warner Brothers for the past 4 years. Like, it sort of didn't, like, I didn't quite get it at first. It just seemed like, wow, this is a guy with a real chip on his shoulder sort of thing. Like, and there's a lot I don't know about that. You know, it sounds like he was really mistreated, but now I do believe that he was, had some major issues with, you know, how Whedon conducted himself on set as a new director. But there's really more to it than that, I think. Like, this could have been a major breakout role for this guy who had not really done anything prior to, and he's relegated to, I mean, a footnote in that theatrical cut. Whereas as you put it, Sean, this is kind of his movie this time around. He really got shafted in this transition, this change between directors, because he's really great in this, and the story that he's given, like, he has an actual character arc. We see so much that wasn't there previously. We understand his backstory, his relationship with his family. His father plays a big role in this.
The guardian of the mother box, fixing bat planes. I mean, this guy does everything.
Yeah, kind of does everything.
And if you look at his IMDb, like I just did, the only thing he's been in really since this was the new season of True Detective, where he was a minor character, and he's in some movie coming out later this year. So I can see, like, even if he was treated poorly on the set, which, looking at the shit that's came out from Joss Whedon after, where there's smoke, there may be fire, I can see how he's pissed off, because he was supposed to get a Cyborg movie.
Yeah.
Yes. And he was, and he, not only his story though, he was excellent. Like, he was really good in this role. Like, I loved him. Like, in the original movie, I was like, I don't get it. But I watched this, and I absolutely loved him. I thought he was fantastic in this.
And you see where, like, his anger is coming from. His everything about his demeanor, like, it absolutely makes sense now. It's like, I see why he's playing the character this way.
Yep.
It's all there, and we did not get any of that in the theatrical release. Like, and all the stuff with Star Labs. Ryan Choi is in this movie. Like, he's
the Atom, right?
Yeah, he's going to be the Atom, I guess, maybe, in a world where, things play out differently. It's just like, whoa, this is, and it's just a minor character in this movie, but somebody that did not exist at all prior to this release. So these are things that definitely are substantial improvements. The fall of Themyscira with the Amazons, it's not remarkably different, I didn't find, but it is given some breathing room that it didn't have before. That whereas I thought that maybe the pace had been a little too slow in earlier parts of this movie, and where it could drag a bit, could stand to pick it up. I thought that letting that play out a little bit more gave it some urgency. Like, I liked that the subtle changes that were made there. So yeah, that's about where I am. I cannot delineate one part from another, but just trying to keep it all together in my head.
Sean, do you have anything to add about this part of the show?
No, I think Tim summed up. I actually love that whole Amazon part with the building falling in the water, the chase for the box. I ate all that shit up, and I'm just gonna piggyback on what Tim said. The Cyborg arc here is fantastic. He's fantastic in this, and I was very critical of the Flash. I hated the Flash in the first one because I've watched the Flash TV show, so the Barry Allen I'm used to is the Flash there, and I thought this one was paid. It reminded me of Shazam a little bit, where they took the character and made him too hokey. But I also enjoyed his arc here with his father, kind of his story, that thing with Iris. So two characters I gave no shits about in the first movie, I actually grew to care about in this and enjoy.
Yeah.
And I will say, just to add on, I know we're about to get to part 4. I loved Cyborg and Flash's chemistry in this movie. Chef's kiss. It was great, and they were seen as like the two younger junior members. I love like the scene where they're digging up Superman's body, and Flash is like, should I hit on Wonder Woman? And Cyborg's like, she's 5,000 years old. Everyone's too young for her. It was just stuff like that I enjoyed.
Didn't stop her from screwing not Steve in Wonder Woman 84.
I know. Well, yeah, God.
So part 4 is called Change Machine. That we get the mother box. We get a bit more, still more of a Cyborg backstory, and we learn about the anti-life equation, which I don't think was that even mentioned in the theatrical cut.
No, not at all.
So that kind of like explains like the whole, this is the snap basically, but it's far worse from what I understand. Sean, what do you think of this part of the movie where we get Martian. I think this is where, I don't know. It's hard to cobble all this together and succinctly, but what do you think of this part where we get we learn about what the ultimate plan is by Darkseid?
Yeah, I mean, it sets up the end game for him and what we end up, like, we get to the end of the movie, but it also sets up what the future movie would have been. And we're kind of robbed of that. Again, no context whatsoever in the theatrical version, but now it all makes sense. Again, I know this movie's super long, but I really like the layers they're piling on and the story they're growing and they're building throughout. And then they're adding additional layers in between to set up what makes sense for future movies. And again, I really have nothing bad to say about any of this. I mean, I got my few things that I pick apart, kind of like everybody else is, but I just can't reiterate enough how much I enjoy just sitting back and enjoying the story of this.
Mm-hmm. Scott?
Yeah, I agree with what Shawn said, and this is where where you find out that Steppenwolf has stolen the second mother box from the Atlanteans because Steppenwolf had kidnapped some people from Star Labs, and we have like this nice little fight sequence, which I remember some of it from the first movie, but that's when Aquaman joins the team because he's like, we got to fight together for this, and they decide that, hey, we need to resurrect Superman to fight Steppenwolf. And this is when I said they were, like on his nuts, like saying he's the greatest ever. But that's just like nitpicking on my part because like at the end of the day, like Superman only has like kryptonite, the only thing that can take him down, unlike the rest of the people. But it was, you guys are making me want to rewatch this movie, and it's 10:30 at night on your work day. So,
Tim?
The anti-life equation reveal was, in plot terms, maybe like a bridge too far for me. It didn't ruin the movie by any means. It was just sort of, I didn't think that needed to be here. Once again, one of these things that was filmed and maybe they weren't sure what to do with, but they've got the footage. Probably would not have made, again, a hypothetical theatrical release, but since they have it, they put it in here. It's just awfully convenient, you guys, that this concept, this thing, whatever it is that Darkseid says he has been searching for millennia or whatever, this anti-life equation.
Oh, it's Earth.
Happens to reveal itself to Steppenwolf.
Yes.
Not Darkseid, but Steppenwolf. And it happens to be on Earth, where Steppenwolf is right now. And Earth just happens to be the one planet that successfully repelled Darkseid 100 million years ago, or whatever.
Earth is a special place, Tim.
Oh, come off it. Like, that's all well and good, but it just kind of paints Darkseid in a very like incompetent light, I feel like. That wouldn't he have kind of put some of this shit together before, like, hey, I'm looking for this thing. There's this planet that seems to be very special in all of the universe because it's the one planet that repelled me successfully. Maybe I ought to concentrate more of my efforts here as opposed to, I don't know, just letting that one go for however long I did. Like, it just made him look like a bad administrator. You know what I mean? He's like a shitty boss. So I didn't think any of that needed to be in this movie. You can maybe explore it in the sequel. Maybe it was intended for a sequel to this that I guess will never get made, but really didn't add anything, didn't need to be here. Honestly, I thought Darkseid could have had enough of a motivation just in terms of spite. Like, now this is the second time he's gotten his hand slapped trying to invade Earth or put some claim in on Earth. So now he's even more pissed and is going to personally lead this invasion. I think that's all you needed. You didn't need all this anti-life equation nonsense being in here. Okay. So again, getting the bad out of the way first. The explanation as to like the nature of the mother boxes is much better this time around, where they're kind of these living machines and have some kind of programming where they seem to respond to their environment, and they weren't active, and in fact remained dormant because there was this really powerful Kryptonian who could, shut any shit down that they would try to start. And now that he's gone, we wake up. I kind of like that, and I kind of liked the irony of a mother box being the instrument of Superman's resurrection, given his, kind of relevance and their awakening. It's just sort of that was a nice little flair that they added, which we will get to. And this also directly relates to Cyborg's origin, so gives him some more importance, some more oomph behind his character and to the plot, like that he has this knowledge because these things created him, and in some respects he is one with this technology. So I liked all of that quite a lot.
All right. So we get chapter 5, which is called All the King's Horses, which is obviously a reference to the Humpty Dumpty nursery rhyme where they were trying to put Superman together again, basically. So they have his body, and they need dark Cyclops goes in. Not Cyclops, I'm sorry, Cyborg. It's late. Cyborg, hooks into the mother box and kind of sees a vision, so to speak, of what could happen. Flash, needs to get to a certain speed he's never gotten to, and they're trying to basically bring Superman back from the dead, and he wakes up in somewhat of a foul mood, so to speak. I mean, I've woken up in bad moods, but never that bad. And, it kind of alerts Steppenwolf to and the Parademons to where the third mother box is, and this part ends with Cyborg's dad making the ultimate sacrifice for mankind, basically, in terms of leaving, a kind of a stamp, I think it was, or kind of a signal on it, I think it was, so they could track it down. So Scott, what do you think here with the resurrection and then the the vision, as well as kind of where we get Cyborg's father's part in the story?
All right, it's time for me to gush again. God, the nightmare scenario, in comic books, I'm a big fan of what ifs. That's why I like the MCU, the Marvel animated movie we have coming out, What Ifs, tickles my fancy, coming out later this year. But this what if of the nightmare scenario, we saw it first in Batman vs Superman. Probably the only thing I loved in the movie, which is the nightmare realm where Superman has seemed to went crazy, Batman's hunting against him, and we see more of that this time. We see Superman, we see Wonder Woman dying, we see Aquaman getting killed, and then it makes me think when Cyborg tells him to go, I swore he said no.
He does.
Yeah. So I was like, damn, that's something interesting. So I really love that. The Superman resurrection scene. What do we need the rest of the Justice League for if he's just gonna beat the shit out of him? For real. It just shows he's just send Superman in there to whoop Steppenwolf's ass. Obviously, the rest of the Justice League's not needed. That's just they just made him too OP, in my opinion. And I will say it's better because I do remember Batman had to bring Amy Adams in this time. Lois in this time. She was at least in the general area when Superman comes back and he flies off because he remembers her. But I love the nightmare scenario so much. Last night I bought Injustice, which is a video game series. They made comics about sort of this storyline. This is where Snyder got his idea from, where the Joker kills Lois Lane and the unborn baby of Superman, and he goes crazy. And I bought the year 1 of that last night. That's how much I'm in love with arcs like this. So I want to see more of it. I'm upset we won't see any more of it. And Victor Stone's dad, who I'm pretty sure stayed alive. Tim, is that correct, in the original Justice League?
Yeah, he didn't have any kind of sacrifice or death scene.
I like the sacrifice. It made no sense at first until they explained it, and then I was like, oh, that's actually pretty smart, because they put a heat signature on the third mother box so they could find out where it is. So that was a very, because Cyborg had been pissed at his dad because he said, all about making monsters in the first or second part. So it was nice to see this part. This it's just ramping up like what I want to see. I just want to see more of like the nightmare scenario, which we see at the epilogue. And God, I'm sorry, I love it. I love it. Tim, you're up.
Okay.
You're the heck. I'm the host. Tim, you're up.
Okay.
Good Lord.
Oh, wow.
Sorry, Andy.
It's okay.
I'm excited.
You know what?
Very excited.
The vision, the prophecy, the flash forward dream sequence, however you want to call it, sort of a Zack Snyder cliche, and I don't normally like that sort of thing. I didn't like it when they did that trick in Batman v Superman. Here, I'm more than okay with it because it has a plot relevance, a story motivational relevance, in fact, because whereas the first time around when we go into Resurrect Superman, it just feels like a thing that everybody bickered about a little bit, but then just decided to go ahead and do. And it was like, they made it seem like they only had one shot at it, but that theatrical release did not really explain why, like if it didn't work, if Flash's timing wasn't on point or whatever, like they couldn't just try again. Like, they just couldn't do it over and over and over until they got him back. But they made the point and actually stressed the importance of, look, when we activate this thing, Steppenwolf is then going to be able to track it. And so we only want to take one crack at this. And if it doesn't work, then that's it. We can't go back in. And are we sure we really even want to do it in the first place? Because now we're all getting like these horrible nightmare visions, so there's like some actual tension behind that decision that I did not think was there, or was perhaps rather artificial in the Justice League. God, I can't say that. So I think we did kind of lose some bits that were a little bit helpful, though, that Whedon did contribute. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but Batman explained that he had a contingency plan if like this went south, if Superman was not himself, if it was going to look like another Doomsday situation, like at the end of Batman v Superman, like he had basically a kryptonite contingency plan where he's going to blast him with kryptonite and be done with it. Whereas in this, it just seems like they don't have any sort of backup plan. They're just kind of going to chance it. And that feels very un-Batman like. Although I suppose it is consistent with this whole theme of operating on faith more than reason. I don't know. Maybe there is something to that. But all in all, I kind of liked the build to the Superman resurrection. Although the mechanics of it are not dramatically different, that's fine. That was never the issue. So I sort of enjoyed how we got there. So no issues with that part at all.
All right. Shawn, any thoughts?
Yeah, I'll just go the same route Tim did. I mean, a lot of this was similar to what the theatrical version was because I remembered a lot of that. But I did enjoy the kind of look into what could be in the future. I forget, what do they call it? They call it the night what? What's it called? The
Nightmare.
The nightmare. So I did enjoy that and seeing you saw Superman there with Lois, who's supposedly Lois, that got burnt to a crisp, and you see Apocalypse take control of him. And I enjoyed this whole scene. Again, nothing further to add. I think Scott and Tim did a great job. But again, I'm just continuing to enjoy this flow of this story so far.
Yeah. And we get part 6, which is kind of the last chapter. It's that we get a little something else at the end, but it's called Something Darker, which is where we get the big showdown here with the Justice League and Steppenwolf, where Superman comes back into the fold and is back to being, the son of Krypton. And, it also teased Darkseid coming, which had these two people, which I'm guessing from what I'm reading is Desaad and what was the other person?
Granny Goodness.
Granny Goodness, which
Yes.
I have seen. I do know from Lego DC Villains video game, I know that, but I know nothing really else about the character. But I do know you have to fight her in that game. But yeah, it kind of teases what could happen, and also we get the resolution to this story, and at the end, Martian Manhunter visits Bruce Wayne, which what I have read or heard lately that was originally supposed to be the Green Lantern.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it was Hal
Breaks
Jordan
my
or John
heart.
Stewart, I don't know. It could have been Ryan Reynolds even as Hal Jordan. But Tim, what do you think of the ending of the film proper? We'll talk about the button separately.
Okay. So things pretty much play out plot-wise pretty similarly, with the exception of that epilogue that's totally new material from here out. One of the big changes, instead of this climax taking place in a daytime setting against like a weird red sky sort of backdrop, it's now nighttime, and it again looks more like a Zack Snyder movie.
And no family running away in a car.
Yes, thank you. I do not mourn the loss of that whatsoever.
I do not either. It's one of the things I love.
I legit thought I made that up until I was talking to my little brother about this, and he was like, "No." I was like, "Oh my god!" I thought like I had like a fever dream or something about
It's
that.
a totally different ball game in this.
I would not have even remembered the subplot with the family if not for having rewatched that movie right before this one. I wouldn't have even remembered it, but I was like, oh good, that's gone. We're not dicking around with any of this. Like, I mean, I get it. We want to show the superheroes saving people, but I think Zack Snyder has already demonstrated by now he's not really that interested in that aspect of superheroes. And you bitch about it all you want, but you kind of know what you're signing up for at this stage. So fine. And they make it very clear that this place is totally deserted, totally devoid of life. It's like basically a DC Chernobyl situation. Yeah. So that's sort of handy, I suppose. But yeah, we get the big climax, and this is a much I think better staged action scene. Which I mean, all the action set pieces this time around are quite a bit better. And Superman, well, we get black costume Superman, don't we?
But why do we get it?
I can tell you why.
Okay.
Thank you. I had no idea.
People keep asking this, and they don't spend a lot of time explaining it, but there is a scene. Like, he's walking around, seems like he's trying to decide what costume to wear, right? And which is silly. And he decides on the black one. Well, there's a scene where we then see him in space flying towards the sun, which feels a little bit random, if not for the fact that, okay, it's a black costume. I don't know. In my head, I put two and two together. It helped him soak up some more cosmic energy that maybe he otherwise would not have been able to. Like, how much of a boost does it give him? Who's to say? But any edge you can get is, going to be to your advantage in this sort of fight. And sure enough, he cleans house. So that also, to me, provides more of a justification for why he's so OP. I mean, he is Superman at the end of the day, let's face it. But now we see why everyone was so concerned about getting him back, because, yeah, he does mop up pretty quickly, and it's like more or less game over when he makes his play. And if this black costume did enable him to become more powerful than he might have otherwise been, well, there you have it, as they say. Flash gets a big hero moment that we didn't see previously, with his in a callback to a comment he made earlier about time acting a little bit wonky when the faster he goes, and he basically gets to save the day in a pretty awesome and visually stunning scene. I like that a lot, and I'd say I have not been a big fan of his character, even with the changes that were made. But I like that a lot, where he got to basically reverse the defeat that was handed down, and yeah, got Cyborg in a position, and we separate the mother boxes, and there you go. So I enjoyed this climax, this particular climax a lot more. Although I kind of like the parademons turning on Steppenwolf, who's suddenly afraid again in the Whedon cut. I thought that was some cool poetic justice. But you put that up against Wonder Woman just fucking beheading his ass.
And then Darkseid crushing his freaking head.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
So I mean, still pretty good. It's like it's a trade off, but what they gave us instead, still pretty damn good.
All right, Shawn.
Oh, I loved every bit of this shit. This is just freaking epic, balls to the walls, just fight with the big bad at the end. And the only thing I'm going to add is Tim did a really good job describing it. I absolutely love the ending, way better, where they just chop his head off. You see it fly into the circle, and you see Darkseid just standing there in the background, just looking ominous as shit. And then he takes a step forward and crushes Steppenwolf's head. That was so great that he just stares at the League, and the League's like, "Come on, you motherfucker!" Like just staring at him. Let's go. And then they close. I absolutely love this ending. 100% better than the theatrical version.
Yep, it was much more satisfying.
It was much more satisfying and gave you much more of a holy shit kind of moment. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yep, Scott.
I really can't add anything. Just it was like everyone was saying, it was balls to the wall. Like, this is what we wanted. Like, this is the Justice League whooping ass. Like, making like Batman's making those parademons his bitch. Aquaman, is doing some cool things. I did like how he was flying through the air, and like I remember this in the Justice League one, he's flying through the air and he could just fly. But with this one, Cyborg catches him. So it makes a little bit more sense than Aquaman discovered another fucking power like Joss Whedon tried to do.
My man.
But yeah.
My man.
So, but it was just stuff like that. The Flash does a cool thing.
Right.
Like I got sent a meme where in the Justice League one where Flash saves two people, a family, but in this he saves the world, and it's I guess he did a little bit better in the Snyder cut, which is the truth. And also, I know this is coming up, but with him running back and changing time like he did, that's a big. If they do this is a big arc in the Flashpoint comic book arc where he went back to change time to save his mom, and it did all these different changes. So if that's what supposedly the Flash movie is going to be about, it's going to be about him dabbling. So that's a little Easter egg right there for that. But it was just amazing. I love Wonder Woman coming and chopping off Steppenwolf's heads. Like, yeah, Darkseid, you're next if you bring your ass through this boom tube. So I love it, and it pisses me off we won't see it again. It's infuriating.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe it does more harm than good getting to see what this whole universe could have been. So it doesn't really end there, though. We get this little epilogue where I was a little confused on what was happening because I don't know this stuff, the source material. But it's, I guess, the whole nightmare reality, which was, from what I've done in my research, was Justice League 2 was supposed to take place. The entire movie was supposed to take place in this this alternate reality.
Tim, very Days of Future Past, wouldn't you say? A little bit?
Or Age of Apocalypse, perhaps.
Or Age of Apocalypse, yeah.
God, what a shit show that was. So we get, again, Luthor escaping from prison again. Deathstroke showing up on his yacht. But we get this post-apocalyptic scene, which we have apparently we have a Superman is teamed up with Darkseid, and you have Batman, and we have Deathstroke there. We have trying to remember Flash, which is kind of different, with a little different setup. I believe Cyborg. Is Cyborg still around too, right? Or is he?
Yeah, Cyborg is still alive
there.
In the Nightmare.
I'm trying to remember everybody that was there. Deathstroke is there, and then we get somebody with long hair revealed. It's Jared Leto's Joker. And we get some things about Harley Quinn apparently died in his arms. Basically, it's they're uniting because they really don't have anybody else to fight this battle, I guess. And the Earth has been decimated. It looks like deserts and cities have been toppled, and life is very post-apocalyptic. But so Shawn, what did you think of this epilogue?
So I like the Flash. He became he joined a he became a criminal biologist or whatever. That's really what he became. So that was cool. I did enjoy this this Bruce Wayne and Martian Manhunter interaction. I thought that was cool. We brought up earlier the scene wasn't necessary. This one probably had more impact for the future, so I thought that was nice. But it's really weird that he just shows up and say, "I am the Martian Manhunter." And if I'm Bruce Wayne, I'm like, "Why is this random green alien showing up and saying he's the Martian Manhunter? What a dumb name."
Can I help you?
Yeah, can I help you? Yeah, it was really weird, right? It was really strange. I do like Bruce Wayne's house, though. That was a bomb house on the water. I'd love to have that one day. Let's see. What else did we cover? What else? Oh, I did love the Deathstroke scene with Luthor. Deathstroke, I bet that would have been an amazing character in this run. And initially, that was the Deathstroke that was going to be the villain for the Batman movie Affleck was supposed to be in. And I love how he said, well, if you want to get the Batman, he's Bruce Wayne. And immediately, boom, you had a setup for your next movie right there that we're not going to see. Instead, we get smelly Robert Pattinson in the Batman instead. Let's see. What was the other one?
The
Andy?
nightmare scenario?
Oh, the nightmare scenario. So, yeah, I was cool with it. The Joker, I don't need to see Jared Leto as the Joker ever again with his stringy little hair and, his really bad Joker laugh. I didn't need that. But here's what I will tell you. I enjoyed Ben Affleck as Batman in this. I thought this really fleshed him out as well in him playing Batman. I think he got the shaft in terms of how people viewed him playing Batman. I thought he did a tremendous job. And yeah, I don't know if I really needed to see the nightmare world going into this. I think I would have preferred to see, hey, what's the next step of how Darkseid's going to take over the world. But I will say, Batman being controlled by Darkseid was pretty badass. When he landed there and his eyes were glowing, you're like, oh shit, these guys are fucked. There's no way they're getting out of this. So I really enjoyed the epilogue for the most part. I think it set up the future of what they could have been in the future film Snyder was going for, and I thought it was pretty damn good, and I loved it. I just thought it was a great way to kind of end his Snyder cut to show us here's what the future would have been. I thought it was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. All right. Scott?
All right. This is probably going to be controversial here. I hated Joker and Suicide Squad. Like, him trying to be gangster Joker was just cringeworthy. Slightly redeemed here. Not redeemed 100%, but I wanted to see where it would go because I did like Batman telling him that he was going to fucking kill him slowly. Direct quote, by the way.
But did it have to be Jared Leto Joker to do it? No.
I mean, if it would have been Wannick Phoenix, because I hated that Joker, I would be okay with him killing him slowly. So, but it was nice. I love seeing this little ragtag group, and I do remember the stinger for the Justice League was going to be the Legion of Doom was possibly going to be Justice League 2, but that was just straight up Bruce Wayne's name. Batman's name is Bruce Wayne. So that's where we're leading with that. And I liked how the first thing we saw in the nightmare scenario was Deathstroke with the sweet mullet. I mean, not with a mullet, but with
Mohawk.
Mohawk, yeah, sorry. I just wish we would have saw that. I hope it's continued in comic form, but I agree with Sean. The Martian Manhunter scene should have been saved at the end, even though I did mark out for it before. It's like, where the hell were you at during the rest of the movie, asshole? But it's just upsetting we won't see this. I know I keep hitting the same facts, but it's the truth, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Tim?
I guess we've pretty much said our piece on the Martian Manhunter of it all. The little thing on the boat with Luthor and Deathstroke. Apparently the Deathstroke scene or the Deathstroke lines were the same, but they changed Luthor's dialogue or reverted it to Snyder's original vision, because in the Whedon cut, this is a setup for an Injustice League movie, it seems like, that no one ever had any intention of actually doing. So I don't know why he made that decision. So instead, it's a setup for a standalone Batfleck movie that is now never going to happen, but sounds a lot more interesting, right? I definitely am a fan of Affleck's Batman. I think he's... Oh, man. Is it controversial to say I might like him more than Christian Bale?
Yeah.
I am thinking the same thing, Tim.
But sorry to cut you off, Tim. I forgot to mention this. I love Batfleck. It's a shame that he was wasted.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Anyway.
I'm glad we all agree on that because I really thought he got shafted in this.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. The Days of Future Past flash forward feels pretty tacked on. Like I don't know that we really needed to see this, and that God, the back and forth between Batman and Joker. I'm sort of sitting there thinking, like, is anyone going to yell cut at any point? It just went on and on and on. And the Leto Joker is just so bad. Like, he's just awful, awful. You don't ever want to see it, like, in any form, him playing the Joker. I mean, I wish that performance had hit, that it landed and was really lauded, but he's just like, he's got that get off my screen heat, unfortunately. And that's a overly long scene that is not well served by Jared Leto's Joker performance whatsoever. So I wasn't really digging that nightmare scene, but I still do think it's a shame that Warner Brothers doesn't just like, fuck it at this point. Just give Zack Snyder carte blanche to do what he wants. Like, their own plan isn't any better. They don't even have one. Like, they know there's a market for it. They know these things would make money. Just do it at this. Like, let him do it. Who cares?
Yeah. Even if it's for HBO Max, who cares?
Yeah,
I mean, you'll get those subs up. You know.
I mean,
you got to compete.
Honestly, I think they were treating this as like let's shut everybody up, dump this thing on HBO Max so that we can forget about it, never have to talk about it again. And we're bracing for all the shitty reviews to come in. Mm-hmm. And if anything, like, the reviews have been shockingly positive. And the negative reviews from, like, very critical outlets were, like, always going to be bad in the first place, right? Like, you almost feel like a lot of those super negative reviews could have been written before anybody had seen the first frame of this thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, certainly I don't think it's perfect. I don't think it's great, but I do think it's a step up from what was a very flawed movie originally. And I'm like, people seem to be down with it. So what's the harm? You don't even have a plan of your own that is going to get derailed. Just give him the keys again. Fuck it.
Yeah. It showed potential, what we could get. It showed that Justice League wasn't supposed to be as bad as it was. It was no. A lot of people work very hard and on these movies, and it's hard. It's hard to be a CGI guy. It's hard to do this. It's a lot of people work very hard. A lot of times is the people that make a shit ton of money make these decisions. They tinker, they think they know everything, and they don't. But again, as much as Zack Snyder has redeemed himself, I still don't think he's the right person to helm a superhero universe.
I don't either. But
not at all.
I don't either. I just think that now that they've seen that it's been well received for the most part, and they know it would make money, just unless they had a way better plan that we were already seeing in motion, I see no reason not to just let him run with it.
Yeah, go for it. All right. So one last thing before we go, though, let's go around and say what our final grade is for the movie, I guess. And yeah, and do you think the DCEU has a future? We'll start with you, Scott.
I give it a 7.5 out of 10. And for the future of the DCEU, I know they had said a couple years before that they were going to make standalone movies, which I think is dumb personally, but I do have an idea how they can get around this. They can still make these standalone movies, and then a couple years from now, they can do Crisis on Infinite Earths, where they bring everything together, have the Anti-Monitor come out and wipe away stuff, and then we can start anew. That's just how I would do it personally, but I'm not a big wig yet.
Well, they already did that on the TV shows. the CW.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, they did that. Yeah.
Okay.
But they could do it in the movies. I mean, they're doing a Flash movie, even though they have a Flash TV show.
I mean, they're
could definitely do it
separate universes, so
yeah, exactly.
But that also brings up another point, Sean, is that look at, like, we do Pop Goes to the Couch with the MCU TV shows. Like, I know S.H.I.E.L.D. and Inhumans and Agent Carter may or may not be part of the continuity. I know the first two aren't for sure, but Agent Carter, I think, maybe is. They need someone like a Kevin Feige, which I swear I've said 100 times, that has this shit down pat. They all come to him with what story plots should be. Because even if you look at the Aquaman stuff from the movie, from this Justice League movie, it doesn't match up with the continuity from the movie that came out 2 years later. They should have some quality control on this bullshit. Because if it's confusing someone who's into comics as much as I am, it's definitely going to be confusing the average Joe Schmo who's sitting on his couch like, none of this shit makes sense.
Yep, me.
Yeah.
All right, Tim, what's your rating and your thoughts on the future of the DCEU, if there is one?
So I'd give it like a C plus, B minus, I guess, on like a, I don't know. I think this has demonstrated that there is a very good to borderline great version of this Justice League movie that you could put out into the world with this same story that is some probably combination of the Whedon cut and the Snyder cut. It's kind of a shame that this film had to be approached so antagonistically by two different directors. And I think most of that is really on Whedon for having an attitude of, I'm going to make my kind of movie from the remnants of this unfinished heap that I've been given, rather than just sort of trying to, finish what was. He kind of he seemed to want to make it into his own movie, and that resulted in this Frankenstein monstrosity that was very tonally inconsistent. And I just think that if you take the best parts of both versions, you would have a really great, like, tonally consistent, pretty well written, pleasant to look at, well paced. Probably like you could do like a 3-hour movie, a 3-hour cut, and it would go down pretty easily, like take out like the excesses of both directors that don't serve the film in any way other than to screw up the pacing or overindulgent stylistic tics. Take that shit out and just call it like the sanity cut. And and I get it. You could say, well, that just kind of removes it of any sort of it waters it down. It takes away any kind of singular artistic vision. And yeah, it does, but that's what this movie is. It's the product of it's kind of the bastardized product of two very different visionaries. And I do think you could meet in the middle and have a very good movie. I wonder if they will ever pursue that. We'll have like a Blade Runner situation where there's just a million cuts of this thing until everyone's satisfied. But yeah, it's one of those, like, you wish that there was a path forward. I don't think they're going to do anything else with it, but maybe there will be another groundswell, and we'll be having this conversation again about another Zack Snyder DC movie down the line.
Possibly. And Sean, what's your grade and thoughts on the future?
I would, here's the thing. I was very entertained. I love that I got a good backstory. I really enjoyed the Cyborg story. This is probably the highlight for me. I found myself enjoying Affleck as Batman more in this. I mean, I know Tim said C plus B minus. I would probably be a B, almost on the higher end of going to a B plus, but I'll go with a solid B. I think this is way better than the theatrical version. I was way more entertained. I love the story, and I would recommend everybody at least go out of the way to watch it. And I would recommend watching it in parts, not necessarily the full thing or the full ride, because it was really, to me, it was almost like I couldn't wait to go back and watch it when I paused it to see how it played out. And I think they did a really nice job with it. And it is sad that we'll probably never see additional Snyder films, because I would like to see how it plays out a little bit. But you know what? We have this. People got what they wanted. And if I were them, if we're not going to get any more, I'd be satisfied with what they got, because we did see what a Justice League movie could be. And I'm satisfied with it. I'm perfectly happy with this movie.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I would probably go about a B on it. And, you know, my hope is actually that they kind of like take a break for a little while. Mm-hmm. You know, let the world get back to normal. You know, Marvel, although this would have been a perfect time for them to have a big, you know, new movie come out, because Marvel, you know, we're getting, of course, now we're going to get 8 movies in 2 years. But, or 4 movies. I know, we're getting a lot. Anyway, but I would love to see them come back with a different director and a different direction, and really just start from scratch. Give us some origin stories, and then build up. And you don't have to call it Justice League. You can call it Super Friends, whatever. Because I was like, you know, as disappointed I was in the Justice League film, I'm like, ooh, a Legion of Doom, a Hall of Doom. Like, we get all the. Because that's like Sean, like that's the cartoon that we grew up on. My favorite was the
Challenge of the Super Friends.
Super Friends. Yeah. You know, each one of them had an arch enemy. They didn't necessarily always just have to fight each other, but that was where it was so great that it played off all these different, you know, characters and all these different personalities and all their different strengths.
It was almost like a heel versus face dynamic where they all, it was
like Hulk Hogan's Rock and Wrestling.
It totally was. Yeah.
You know, all those, it was always, it was so much fun. So I still hope, you know, put a little penny under my pillow and be like, oh, please. But, you know, you never know. So,
but instead we get Shazam 2, which we're so excited for.
I mean, my kids liked it. I mean, it was a fun family movie to me. I have no frame of reference for Shazam, so I thought it was fine for what it was. All right, so just quickly go around, just say if you have any pods you want to direct people to, any social media presence. We'll start with you, Sean. Anything you want to direct people to?
Yeah, I'm at NWA Crock and Roll on Twitter. Battlestar in the 25th Century here on the Pop feed with Scott. I think this is dropping. If this is dropping this week, the Starcade 85 of NWA Crock and Roll will be dropping. We kind of have a special announcement about the future of the pod at the start of it, with all the network stuff going on. So tune in for that. And then obviously I also have Highway to the Impact Zone and Chicken Salad as well on the wrestling feed.
All right, Scott.
Yeah, Sean mentioned Battlestar in the 25th Century that drops on this feed. I'm on Blockbuster Rewind with you, Andy, that drops once a month. Pop Goes to the Couch with all these guys on here. We have a lot of fun together. I can be found on Twitter at Scott_Shifflett.
All right, Tim?
The aforementioned Pop Goes to the Couch with all these gentlemen here on Place B Nation Pop, where we talk the MCU shows on a weekly basis on Disney Plus. On the sister feed, Place B Nation Wrestling, pair of wrestling shows over there, those being Talkin' WCW and PTB NXT. So those are probably going to be shaken up a bit in the months ahead, given some WWE network migration issues, but we'll figure it out. Also find me on the Jenny Position, Jennifer Smith's curated personal podcast network, where we do a show with Justin Rosero and Scott Griscolo called The Journey Through Infinity, going chronologically through the films of Marvel Cinematic Universe. If you're jonesing for more comics movie content, you can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Syke68, CYKE68 over on Twitter.
All right, awesome. For me, all the Pop Goes, whatever. I'm usually on Pop Goes Classics.
Everywhere.
Yeah, Pop Goes to Classics, our Disney pod. That drops once a month. That's myself, Miranda, and Steve Riddle. The next episode, I believe, is 101 Dalmatians. It should be out early April. Scott said we have Blockbuster Rewind. Next episode will be out, I believe, next week. It is the Oceans franchise. That is me, Scott, Eric, and we are joined by the Cowboy on this episode. I am very excited, though. Brand new show dropping with my friend Miranda. It is called the Most Sensational, Inspirational, Celebrational, Muppetational Podcast. The first episode is dropping this week. It may have dropped already by the time you hear this, but, I love podcasting with Miranda, and, Miranda is actually the lead on this one. She is more the host, and I am more the commentator, being, I grow up such a big Muppet fan. Also, Laughing Theater, great debate. Making Mount Rushmore every other Monday. Also, Making Mount Rushmore is also branching off and will be on the wrestling feed once a month. That is the PlayStation Wrestling Network. I'm sorry. Somebody doesn't like us to say the word feed. But so check that out. All kinds of great stuff.
Too. I apologize.
No. And, like the guys I mentioned, also the other feeds, Jenny Position and the North-South Connection, all kinds of great content with, you can hear these guys, whether it's hosting or guesting, and our friend Glenn Butler, the Non-Toxic Fanboys podcast. Check that out. Look at the site. Come to the Place to Be Facebook group. And I just want to thank these gentlemen for getting together. As always, it's always a treat, always a pleasure, always one of the highlights of my week is getting to discuss, geek culture with these guys. And we have a great time doing it. So thank you all for listening, and we'll check you out on the next episode, whenever that is. Maybe Godzilla vs. Kong, who knows, Black Widow. Stay tuned.